Well, welcome everyone to Between Two Senseis. We're finally on. This is episode 5. We got a bunch of topics to talk about. And first up, Kasparov's performance in St. Louis, the Champions Showdown. Let me throw it to David. You're the Chess 960 fan. What do you think? Timer is starting.
Well, first of all, I think if you want to start on the Chess 960 side of it, Kasparov plays the opening reasonably in Chess 960. He's not behind these other people in his opening play. From my own opinion and perspective, I think he's acquitting himself quite well in the opening. So either he has some experience with 960 or he, his chess, his chess instincts and culture and everything come together and make him, able to play it competently right off the bat. And then secondly, for his overall performance, I think that he has at least met expectations. I think he's had some good games, and he probably has really high expectations for himself. But I think you would expect him to have a minus score probably in rapid chess against a bunch of the top 10 people who are in shape now. I think,
Especially
you guys
online.
can correct me if you disagree on the expectation, but I think the expectation would be a minus score. And if not for like a mouse input error against Fabiano, he probably would be on an even score right now. So I think he's playing quite well. Yeah.
Cool. Jesse, what do you think?
Well, let me follow up a little bit with David because the 960 fan in the house. First of all, let me just ask you, maybe talk more about it too. Like when you say you feel like his openings were okay, how are you judging that?
I played through the first 10 moves of every single game. Graded the players on how well they played the opening in each game, and then sort of averaged it out from there.
That was on stream yesterday, right? People can check the replay for that.
I did that Friday for the first 3 rounds, and yesterday I did it on my own off stream. And I've got Kasparov as third in opening play out of the 10 of them, with a B plus currently.
Wow.
So I mean, did you do it with the computer, or how did you do the grading?
What do you mean with my eyes?
With your eyes.
I played through their moves, and when I saw moves that made me puke, I gave them D's. And when I saw moves that looked like okay, I gave them B's. And when I saw moves that were really nice, I gave them A's.
Okay.
When I learned something, they got an A plus.
Okay. Yeah.
It was so funny on the stream just now. They asked Fabi about one of his games, and apparently, against someone, I forgot who, he played the first 2 moves D4, and then he short castled. And his opponent could have played this crazy move G5, and the engine was giving them a huge advantage with black after 2 moves in the opening. And they were like, "What? Could you explain this to us?" And he's like, "No, I'm sorry, I really can't. I don't understand."
What the basis of the evaluation would be.
Yeah, why it was so much in black's favor in that position after some random move G5.
Yeah, I think a typical mistake a lot of people do make in Chess 960 is to castle too early. If they're just sort of not sure what else to do, and they're like, well, castling will probably help my position somewhat.
Why is that a mistake? Just too early?
Well, I mean, a lot of times it's useful to have the choice to castle to either side, or you need the tempo to fight for the center with your pieces. So, I mean, castling is sort of like a random lazy move in normal chess too, sometimes.
Let me ask you this, David, because this is kind of one of the interesting thing about Chess 960 to me is goes back to a big debate we've had here on the dojo between me and Kostya. We've almost come to blows, but we can't really come to blows because he's on the other side of the country. And that is the importance of the opening. And I know you like Chess 960 because you feel it takes away the opening advantage. And I'm wondering how you see that. Let's just get your intuition. How much is the opening worth? Let's start at that level, which is where I think if you're going to argue for the opening.
Does playing a good opening give somebody a better chance of scoring well in 960? Is that what you're asking? What effect it has on outcome? Or?
No, our debate with me and Kostya is in regular chess, how much does the opening matter? And the idea with Chess 960,
I would say increasingly little as both players are rattling off memorized moves together. My problem with with normal chess is that the opening is like almost completely not a factor because people don't actually play those moves. And I think it's better to have people play those moves for themselves. You get more errors, more skill differentiation and expression, and more decisive results as well, which people tend to want when it comes to fans.
Oh, okay. I mean, let me just put it this way. And maybe I'm hijacking it a little bit for our next question, which is there room for 960? And pre-apologies. But I just think like this thing with Kasparov, he's obviously back in the day. He was the guy who really pushed it with opening preparation. First before
great opening
the computer, and then with first to really adopt the computer. So here, he has a chance really to play, it feels just mano-a-mano against these guys, especially somebody like MVL. Hard to play against MVL. The guy's like so booked up. What are you supposed to do? And the same's true with a lot of those guys. What are you supposed to do? And so it seems like an equalizer. And to me,
I agree.
I have a feeling Kasparov's score would probably be similar in normal chess too against these guys. He would be around the middle of the pack, and like you said, maybe for the most.
I would think that, sort of going with your line of thinking, I would think he would do a bit worse because their opening prep is more current. They've spent more time memorizing it. Like, he's not pumping in those hours memorizing variations right now. Mm-hmm. Nor does he probably have like a team of seconds like running computers for him in the background. So I think that it does help him to compete at this level, that it is the 960 event.
Okay, guys, I want to get in here and say a couple things. Well, because the first topic was supposed to be about Kasparov specifically, because it is kind of the Kasparov show. It's like his quote-unquote comeback and all this stuff. Not a comeback, but every time he comes back, it's his comeback. I think he's done fine, just based on his score. The mouse slip was really unfortunate, and I feel like he normally wouldn't do that. Well, especially not like over the board, of course. So that game could have gone much better. I feel like the format is like really tough for him, actually. He's the oldest guy, he's like the least active, and it's online, and it's on Lichess. Like, how much has Kasparov played on Lichess? Maybe it's easy to pick up, but it's like I think he beat Firouzja in round 1. That was the one game I was worried for him. I was pretty sure Firouzja would flag him from a bad position.
But it's like there is an increment, right? I guess maybe not enough if he never plays online.
Yeah, I remember, in St. Louis when he was playing Blitz, he definitely, I think he gets quite nervous now in time scrambles compared to his opponents. So I think that's where the biggest difference might show up. Yeah.
I mean, in terms of his performance, I'll say as an old guy, the thing as a fan that was mildly interesting was like, not only am I getting older, and he's older than I am, but he has been doing basically not chess for a great while. And if you follow him on Twitter, you can tell he's active like in all kinds of causes. He's reading all kinds of news every day. Very, very busy dude. Not doing, I'm sure he plays Blitz online to relax or something, but that's like, as we know, the worst thing you can do for your chess is to play a little bit of Blitz online to relax. And I've as well, like I took some time off to write the book and stuff, and it's really tough to come back. So, I mean, honestly, the bummer is like every time he loses or does worse than Carlsen, people are going to, in history, think about it as some kind of match, when I don't really think it is.
Yeah.
It's not a fair deal.
Not at all. Yeah.
So, I think he's done great.
Yeah. Actually goes back to our debate last week about like aging and chess skill. I mean, I remember when he played against the guys in St. Louis, like he played that event after the US championship, and then one that was like Blitz and Rapid. Definitely felt like he hasn't lost like that much, although it was a little skewed in his favor that he got to play Wesley, Fabi, and Naka like the day after they finished this grueling US championship, and now they have to play like Rapid.
Yeah.
I thought that definitely gave him a little bit of an edge. Okay, and then the final question by Mitch. We got to give a quick answer here. If he came back, started working again, would Kasparov be in the top 10?
Yes.
10 seconds, Jesse.
Ooh, hard to say. Hard to say because he's older than Anand, and Anand is just barely. He's going to slip out of there real quick. It's really hard for an old dude in there. And honestly, Anand is the exception to the rule. Most old dudes aren't making it.
Cool. All right, time's up. I would also say no, he wouldn't be. Sorry.
I'm the only one he won't kill when he sees us.
Okay, next topic. Let's move the arrow down. Hey, thanks for the sub, Passpon. 10 minutes on the clock. Is there room for more Chess 960? Jesse, I guess you start.
Yes, over to you.
Sure, I'll start. Ages ago, David Pruess tried to get me interested in Go, and other people tried to get me interested in Go. And, they were like, dude, this is a great game. It's really complex. And then when me and David went to Asia and China in 2008, and it was just like Go everywhere, really impressive Go culture. And so my reaction was, you know what, it could be really amazing, but even then, that was 10 years ago. I'm like, well, more than 10 years ago, I was like, I need to cut back on the other things in my life. Chess is more than enough. More than enough. When I think of all the things I have to learn in chess, it's too much. I'm already overwhelmed. So the idea that I need more variance in order to make chess more interesting, I just don't feel the need. And we talked a little bit on the Co-Chess show today, and Mikhailo Oleksienko said the exact same answer I did. It was just like, as a fan, as a player, I don't need it. Now, does that mean it's like doesn't have a place for it? I don't know, but if they invite me to St. Louis to do a Chess 960 event, I'm going to go. But no, I'm not interested in doing it. It doesn't mean it's a dumb game. Just like Go, I'm sure Go's a great game, but I just I'm already overwhelmed in life. I need less things in my life, not more. And I think most chess players think that way. That's why I don't think that's why it hasn't taken off. There's been a lot of interest in 960 for a while now, but it hasn't really taken off.
So I'm with you, Jesse, kind of with the sentiment, especially actually my answer for the next one will definitely be along these lines of like, yeah, the regular game of chess is already so like difficult to master, and we've been trying to for like hundreds of years, and we're like maybe we've scratched some surface area, but clearly there's a ton of mysteries left within the normal starting position that we don't know. Like there's no established best opening. There's lots of options still considered very playable. But I do think that in general, like Chess 960 is super cool. And as far as variants go, I think it is better than basically everything else, as far as my opinion goes. So I would totally be down to have like a separate 960 World Championship. I think that would be cool. It would be really awesome if the 960 World Champion was not in like the top 10 of regular chess. Like, what if like Jobava wins it? Like that would be incredible. That would be so cool. We'd set up some kind of like, I don't know, dual match. I think there is room for more 960 because it's definitely chess. It just takes away the opening, but fundamentally everything about the game is still there in 960. It's just a different starting position. So it's like changing chess in the most radical way, but without actually changing anything fundamental about it. All the same strategies still apply. Tactics are still the most important thing. Tactics are still going to like decide 99% of games. So I'm a fan for doing a lot more 960, especially classical 960.
Yeah. I mean, essentially almost everything that you've studied in chess applies across, except like memorizing some opening moves, which is the worst part of chess. So it's not like if you decided to take up Go, that would require an enormous like change, right? And you would have to, it would split your brain and your time and your energy. But like if we started playing Chess 960 tournaments, it's not like Jesse would be like, oh, I have to go like learn this new game, right? I mean, you could just go into a tournament tomorrow, Jesse, and you'd be fine.
So I do feel like
that's a good argument. Go ahead, Custer.
yeah, I feel like 960 though is harder for spectators because like there's no familiar structure, there's no familiar strategy until something like the best case scenario the players get like an English structure and then we can say like, oh, it's in English, so this is what we understand about the position, or like, oh, it looks like a French now, so this is what we understand. At least that's the feeling. Like I personally don't love watching 960 even though it's like the best players in the world. Like I'm very curious to see how they do, but they have like this 9 on d3, 9 on e3, and I'm like, my brain is like, okay, they're playing bug house, like I shouldn't take this seriously. It's kind of how my brain reacts to it. But I do respect, like, I mean, it's obviously still chess.
Yeah, and for David, I think, like, I don't, even though my memory is gone and it's very hard for me to study openings and it's definitely a weak point, I don't feel like, as I think David does, that it's preventing him from playing tournament chess. Because I think if 960 were to make it, especially amongst like a broad portion of both the normal chess people and the advanced chess people, it would be like a bunch of Davids coming forth and being like, I want to free myself from the shackles of spacebar, right? I want to free myself from all this dreary opening study and just be free and be a dude. And that's a cool argument, but I haven't yet seen the critical mass, because that's what you would need, really, a critical mass of people who were thinking that way and fans who were thinking that way to make that switch happen, you know? Let me just say, there's a kind of, whether or not classical chess is the best way, it has an inertia all of its own. And part of that inertia is just like the tradition behind it. We've got world champions going back hundreds of years. And yeah, there's a beauty and a conversation that's taken place that Chess 960 just won't have, right? But I like the argument. I'm not immune to David's argument. I think the argument is romantic in its appeal, honestly.
And to be clear, it's not opening theory that keeps me from playing in tournaments. You know, it's just something that I would be grumbling about if my kids weren't keeping me from playing in tournaments. Mm-hmm. But you know, but certainly if they had 960 tournaments, I would be much more interested in playing. It would be a lot more fun. I would enjoy the tournaments more. And I enjoy watching, you know, pro players play 960 a lot more than watching them play the Slav.
Yeah, I feel differently there for sure.
Well, let me ask you, Dave. Let me throw it back to you. Chess 960 has been around a while. Well, we've had a lot of people like St. Louis sponsor tournaments with some money at stake. Top-rated guys getting in there. I think among the very top, there's like, I think Aronian's the most pumped about it from the interviews I've seen. He's also probably the best at it. But why don't you think it's had more traction since it's been really, I would say,
when you said inertia.
Inertia, yeah.
I mean, you could look at all kinds of things in the world outside of chess as well, right? Like, you know, police violence, right? People have been protesting that in like cycles for decades and decades and decades, right? Why doesn't it change? A big part of it is just inertia with anything that doesn't change.
Magnus did say recently, I thought it was really interesting, he was like, you know, do we want to just keep our tradition, or do we want to actually figure out who the best player in the world is? And I thought that was cool. But, you know, if we end tradition with Magnus, then he gets to be the last classical world champion. Like, it's a big mantle. And then he's like, okay, and then we had the modern system.
And we had the modern system. He could be the first champion of that too.
Yeah.
He's got another 10 years for us to switch if he wants. He wants that about. But I've talked to quite a number of GMs who would prefer to play 960. So I think a lot of it is just inertia. It's just what like tournament directors are used to organizing and what, you know, people at FIDE expect, and nobody's yet said like, oh, I'm going to make like a rating system and maintain it, and I'm going to like, you know, run this tournament, and I'm going to put up the money, right? I mean, you said St. Louis put in some money. They ran some events, but it's like rapid chess. There's no ratings, there's no titles. So I mean, there's a lot of like infrastructure to be built up. And again, like I'm very much on the same page as a lot of things that Laurent said in chat, where like I don't think it's necessary for amateurs. But of course, if amateurs want to play in the Chess 960 tournaments, anyone would be welcome to have more fun. There's no discrimination there.
I do have one possible compromise, because I do enjoy like opening prep and like finding new ideas, and that would be to have a determined position, like a random position for like a season, like a month of events. So you announce it, you give players like time to prepare for a week or so, and then you have that one position for the season.
That would be awesome the only way if they weren't going to use their computers. Because it would be great. I mean, I agree 100%. I would love to like go into some no tech bubble and like study the position for a month with you and other people and then play you. But if you're just gonna like turn on your computer and sit there for like whatever, a season, letting your computer run, then like why? It's just pointless.
It's Centaur chess. You gotta find
advantage.
Ideas with the because you're not gonna be able to prepare deeply, but it'll be up to you to come up with like ideas to prep. Anyway, we're out of time.
All right.
Let's go to the next topic.
Yes, we can predict Jesse's answer here.
Well, actually, I was going to say something just to introduce this next topic, because the part of it it struck me when we were talking about this, interesting about 960 that applies to all the variants as well, is like this, what Chess 960, the discussion reveals, whether we like it or not, is it reveals a lot of the interesting hierarchy and institutional stuff, stickiness, let's call it institutional stickiness, that keeps our chess world going. And so here's first of all a thing that I find interesting that's outside of chess, and that is the idea that institutions have their own lives and institutions fight for their own survival. So when you create an institution, it wants to survive, and it will do anything to survive. And it's weird because you don't think of institutions as being their own protagonists. But if you look at any institution, government or otherwise, they have a lifetime that goes forward, and they're surprisingly resilient to death. Anyway, so the point I want to make with that is like so much of the stickiness of keeping the classical chess alive has to do with our emotional attachment to things like titles and ratings and that kind of thing. And the analogy I'll give you is when I was teaching college, I had this realization one day that was just horrific, but it was so true. And then, many years later, it also seems true, is that the kids, when they're there, they seem very interested in the material. But the second you take away the grades and the little like BA and MA or whatever it is, they don't care at all, right? So it's this interesting thing that applies to chess very much when you start thinking about all the other variants, right? The reason they're not going to make it, or the hurdle that they would have to overcome, is to have that same institutional structure, which has a history and these titles which have meaning for a lot of people outside of the chess world. If you say I'm a grandmaster or I'm a master, all this stuff, like later in the show tonight we're going to do Sunday night fights, and a lot of those guys are fighting for top, and it's very meaningful for them, whether it's a rating or just saying to say expert, which is USCF 2000, or master, USCF 2200. Those are big deals for those people. And for our own Kostya Kavutsky too, who we're going to send off to Lvov, Ukraine, to study under the masters over there so he can get his GM title.
Funny. So yeah, let me clarify, especially maybe someone's watching on YouTube and doesn't know what the new Alpha Zero variants even are. Recently there was this paper released by Google where they tried different variants in chess. A few of the more popular ones that I heard about was one where you're just not allowed to castle. The same game, but castling's not a thing. Good luck. One where you can capture your own pieces. War-win pawns, I think, in addition to how they normally move, they can also move one square sideways in either direction. There was one called Torpedo where pawns can move 2 squares at any point, which I think is fun. Actually, I didn't realize that was one of them. I vote for that one. I changed my mind.
Yeah.
2 pawns. Because that's how kids, they always do it. So, basically, I guess Alpha Zero played these variants against itself like a million times again, and came up with a bunch of stats like what the draw rate was, what it felt like are the piece values in each variant. One of the bigger ones I think is the stalemate equals win one. Nigel Short is like a big fan of this. I think there are others as well, and that one seems to, I'm not sure if it 100% reduces the draw rate, but like one interesting thing that comes out of it is that pawns are now worth more when stalemate equals a win.
Yeah.
Presumably because now king and pawn against king is just a winning endgame. So I think that stalemate equals win is like a whole different, can be a whole different debate on its own, because there's like a lot of, I think, pros and cons of that one. Just in general for the variants, I'm like, okay, if we're going to add another variant, like the starting position is already so complicated. Now we have like 950 more to sort through. Like, let's sort through those, and then maybe we can talk about no castling chess. Like,
yeah,
come on. That's it. That's how I feel.
So you would rather play 960 than start changing how the whole game is played?
Yeah, of course. I mean, if the goal is to make chess like more exciting, but not like radically change it, then
yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
I agree with Kostya. It's like all those other variants, like, or not all of them, but a lot of those other variants change the rules in such a way that it's like basically you've created a new game using chess.
Right.
You know, and it's not exactly chess anymore. It's like a chess game, the way Chinese chess and like Go are chess games, right? Or shogi. And, you know, if that's the case, well, you could just go play Chinese chess or shogi, right? Those also exist. Like if you're ready to start moving your pawns 2 spaces. I hate the idea of moving them sideways, by the way, because then like you're so far away from chess. There's no structure, right? No pawn structure. That's really like shogi or crazy house, right? That you can never have any positional factor. It's all just like tactics. And I don't know, you guys might find this odd, but that's the game that would probably like favor my strengths versus weaknesses the most. There would be no end games, right? There'd be no positional factors, a lot of calculation and tactics. And that's what I like the least. And then the one that I would probably play the worst at, but I like the best, would be just stalemate as a win. Cause like I already like struggle to ever draw a worse end game. And then if you add that my opponent can win any game that they stalemate me, like I really like, I'll just lose again and again and again, you know, every single game. But that appeals to me a lot more.
Yeah, I want to just say I despise that, but it has no chance of ever making it. So I'm not threatened. I'm not threatened by it at all. The name of the game is checkmate. That means death to the king. That means you got to stick your dagger into the dude. It's not like you just get to dance around him. You know,
it's not a dance.
Yeah, no, I mean the stalemate isn't that's not there's no dagger in the stalemate. It's got to be death. It's got to be death. Yeah. No chance of this happening. Let me just also say about this that interestingly about these variants, I think one of the things that's interesting about the variants to me is arguably we're already dealing in the last several months with loads of variants. And let me just say what I mean. The chess world, I think, changed dramatically with this COVID thing. And I think the biggest variant that's going on now, and hopefully I'm not hijacking the Alpha Zero variants, but the variants, the big one that's happening is online chess. That is just a different game.
It is a different game.
And that is now going to be with us. It might at some point very soon even become the real game. And also like the different time controls that are evolving. Those are all to me different games.
Yeah.
And I would say actually even before this happened, let's say, I don't know, somewhere around 5 years ago, suddenly, and it still makes me angry, this 90 plus 30-second thing became the norm. Yeah. And, you know, to me, that's just way too fast. It's not manly because it ends too fast too. There's no sitting at the board now for a very long time.
Yeah.
You know, back in the day, it was 40 and 2, 20 and 1, sudden death in maybe a half an hour. That was a standard time control. There were some tournaments that did a little bit differently, but never was it as fast as 90 plus 30. So anyways, all these variants are already happening, and I already feel that they're bewildering. So no, I don't want any more. And the online chess, maybe at some point in a different discussion, we can talk about that, but that has definitely come, and that is here for us. And let me just say the obvious thing about it. What you're seeing with the online chess is, in terms of institutions, you've got people with Lee Chess ratings, with chess.com ratings, with chess24 ratings, and they're all different. They're different for classical, for rapid, all this stuff. Do they make any sense? No, they're wildly different. And so people are like trying to compare them, and they don't understand it. And they're like, I'm a 2200 on Lee Chess, but darn it, I'm only a 1600 on chess.com. And so there's that institutionality problem in the online chess world.
Big time.
Wow, Jesse, you just gave me another $10 million idea. I wonder if I'll give it to chess.com or just tuck it away. I wrote it down over here, but I don't think I'm going to forget it.
Okay.
Right. Yeah, those ratings are so confusing. And not to mention, people will include their puzzle rating in that calculation as well. They're like, well, I'm 2600 in puzzles, so does that mean I should be 2200 USCF? Like, no, pick up a book. Okay. Let's go to next topic.
Yeah.
And that is
did we all agree that none of those variants were needed at all by any of us?
Yeah.
And they have no chance.
No one was asking for them.
Yeah. Cool. Kostya, we're forgetting to poll people. If you want me to poll people at the end of a question, let me know anytime. I'd be happy to.
Sure, yeah. As soon as we get we have a disagreement, we should absolutely poll. And yeah, thanks Angelica Chessborn for the raid.
Chessborn. Now that's a great name.
That is an awesome name. Very
That is an epic name to be born with.
Like the Ironborn, right?
The Ironborn. Yep. Hey, Spring Dog, good to see you. Well, we are in the middle of our talk show. We're just moving on to our next topic, and that is the new Stockfish 12, which comes with its own Alpha 0, Lila 0 type neural network system of evaluating positions. Is that a game changer? It was supposed to be something like, I think they calculated 120 points stronger than the previous version of Stockfish, which is that's a big bump for computer chess. But of course, the big thing is like it's now Stockfish with all of its computing power, but plus this neural network. So what do you guys think?
I think that one of what it proves is that computers have been rising in rating for, I think it's something like 400 points every decade. And so it proves that it's still happening, because the intuition might have been that it's slowing down, right? In fact, the rating of these things is actually still increasing. And in terms of this discussion, actually, with openings and all this stuff, maybe we'll look at a couple positions in a second, but one great quote that Vishy said was, for every door that the computers close, they've opened several more. And I haven't fooled around with it too much. I just installed it pretty recently on my ChessBase, but just the couple positions I did where I compared Stockfish 10 to Stockfish 12, it was pretty dramatic. And so it was like, and it was right too. I checked it and I was like, oh, this is the real deal. This is going to open up new ways of seeing chess. And let's just say the Alpha 0 chess thing, right, changed the way I saw chess, but I didn't get to play with Alpha 0. I didn't get to put it on my computer, but I do get to put Stockfish 12 on my computer.
So Jesse, like you tweeted a move where Black played like A5 in some random position, right?
Yeah.
You remember?
Oh yeah.
You tweeted? Okay. You checked on that move somehow and found out it was a good move?
And it was weird too because I should say somebody tweeted like that's a known move, and I hadn't even checked the database. To me, it was like a weird looking move. Maybe Kosi can pull it up, but in any case, um, the thing about it was a human working with a previous computer had found some of the key ideas before, but it was Stockfish 12 that saw it like bam right away. And it was to me it was powerful. I was like, oh yeah, and that was totally right. And honestly, if you had that in your prep, like Stockfish gave it as zeros,
Yeah.
but if you had it part of your prep, you got a huge advantage in that game because there's some dirty tactics that it sees coming with that move A5. Yeah.
Wow. Cool. Well, then I suppose it could be a game changer for some people. It could change their prep. It could shift some variations that we play to variations that we don't play, and some variations we don't play to variations we do play, right? If it gives everybody that power at home to find those advances.
Also, I think it just ends up creating more paths of available chess openings, right?
Yeah.
Like, and that's been in my lifetime. Like, honestly, when chess before computers, we really felt there was a very the paths of respectable openings were much smaller than they are now. You can play all kinds of stuff now. I discovered in my latest video you could basically play the Philidor. No one thought you could play the Philidor. It's fine. You can totally play. There's nothing wrong with that.
Okay. Question, please, Sensei.
Yeah.
If I feed the Benoni to Stockfish 12 or some other engine,
Yeah.
will it find that I'm allowed to play this opening, or will it vomit all over me like everybody else does?
Well, okay, that's an interesting thing. So Stockfish, and I haven't just played that much with Stockfish 12, but one of the things that the old Stockfish definitely had going was a huge evaluation for space, more than most humans. So anytime there was a space advantage, the Stockfish was always like, oh, someone's dying here. And especially on a human level, like even
And it's my minor pieces.
even if you believe in the evaluation, converting a space advantage, I think, is one of the hardest things to do. So that's the thing about the Benoni and the space advantage. And part of the problem as a human is when you see a computer tell you that the position is next to lost, like the Benoni, it's psychologically hard to then play it because you feel lost, even though you're not sure why.
Like if you can't see an advantage that looks like +1 to you, then you're sort of confused looking for something better than you have.
Well, right. It's just also just so depressing when the computer says you're toast and your human eyes don't necessarily get it, but you're like, oh, I guess I'm toast here. I guess the Benoni's lost. And that happens with all those positions with the space advantage.
Yeah.
So, okay, I want to make a correction. Argos is saying, and there have been a couple of people in the chat talking about how exactly the neural network for Stockfish 12 works compared to Lilo and Alpha Zero. It's definitely not the same thing. What they're saying is basically Stockfish 12 has same basic algorithm as Stockfish 11, but when it evaluates positions, it uses the neural net instead of like just pure heuristics, which are kind of like programmed into by the engineer. So yeah, to me that makes Stockfish 12 like really powerful because of course we all know engines have this horizon effect, and if they don't see checkmate, they won't show you that it's checkmate, but a human or an engine like Alpha Zero or Lila Zero can see that a position is going to be mate without actually calculating it all the way out and evaluate it as such. So if we can add that feature into Stockfish, then it's really powerful. A while back, I made a video showing a bunch of positions that like Stockfish 11 had a hard time solving, like even on like a very strong like computer. And I tried some of those positions with Stockfish 12. And it definitely solved them faster and like in a much faster than you would expect, given, you know, the rating difference between the two engines was not that much higher in terms of percentage, right? It's like 100 points for a 3,000. It's like 3% or something rating increase. But it solved a lot of the positions in like half the time. Like I want to do a real video and like measure it, but it solved the positions a lot faster. And these are positions where like, you know, the winning move is bishop takes h7. And a human can kind of figure that out intuitively, but for the engine, it takes a while to calculate. And Stockfish 11 on like my current desktop might take like 10 minutes, 15 minutes to see that it's actually first interesting and then even winning. Leela 0, given the same position, snaps out bishop takes h7. It knows it's good. It just knows. And Stockfish 12 was able to find it like much, much faster than the previous version. I think Mikhailo Alexienko had like a similar experience. He likes testing engines a lot with weird positions. And he was saying that Stockfish 12 solves stuff a lot faster.
Okay, Kosi, this is going to be a noob question, and I think there's a lot of other people who also don't get it. We got some people who are very computer savvy in the chat, so let me just see if I can put it in the clearest terms for me. So basically, if I understand you right, like when you download Stockfish 12, yes, it's stronger than 10, but if you don't have it connected to the neural network, it's not nearly as cool as with neural network. And try to explain to me why the neural network is so great.
So for me, the neural network is the evaluation. Like if you end your calculation with a position where your enemy king is exposed and you got a bunch of pieces coming in, as a human, you know that position is mate. There's no way the king is getting out. I might not be able to see 100% of all the lines, but I know that's going to be a winning attack. Normal engines, if they don't actually calculate until mate, they're not going to give you that plus minus evaluation. But a neural net will, based on its evaluation, right? That's why they like these pawns on h6. They like this pawn on f6. Like Alpha 0 or Leela 0, if they see a pawn on f6 and an open king, they're like +3. It's a bit of an exaggeration, but that's how they they're not brute forcing it. They're evaluating it based on their experience.
They know something sort of like the old principle that like a pawn on one of those squares is an extra piece in the attack. And if the game's going to revolve around the attack, you're up a piece.
This is like a 1600 explaining to a 1200.
That's fine with me. That's fine. Okay, so let me put it this way. So when I'm just dealing with the Stockfish 12, I'm basically just have an algorithm in my hands. But then when I put the neural network on top, it's like it's this deep learning that's already happened. It's like a patch on top of that thing. Something like that.
That's how I understand it.
Okay.
And the regular neural networks like Leela 0, Alpha 0, they don't have that algorithm. They just have a huge and very developed neural net. And they have a very like small, like, you know, they calculate like, I don't know, a fraction of the positions that Stockfish looks at.
So like you can read the comment from Noto who's saying that a heuristic evaluation means that somebody has like put into it like principles. Somebody has told it like a knight is worth this much in the center, a knight is worth this much on the side. Like somebody's just given it a way to put an evaluation on a position.
Yeah. How's it going by Argos? The new Stockfish is like if you had a GM glancing at the position at the end of every line and giving you their gut feeling.
Well, that's interesting. Yeah.
Nice. All right, time's up. Final
that's
topic.
A very good explanation. Thanks, Argos.
A super duper GM. That's right.
Yeah.
All right, Dojo update. Well, we got a lot going on. Oh man.
Well, that's good.
A lot of new stuff.
Tell me about it.
Whew. Okay, directly after this show, we'll be doing Sunday Night Fights. We have a bunch of new groups that have just started for that. In about 2 Saturdays, September 26th, we are planning the start of a really big show. We're very excited about this one. It's basically going to be a coaching show. We're getting students for it. They're all going to be in the same range. The format is going to be really fun, but basically it's going to be like a reality coaching show where students get trained every week by their coach, and they compete against each other in challenges and group events every 2 weeks, leading to a rapid knockout finale in early November. So that's going to be like our big show. It's going to be season 1 coming up.
Dude, I want to out-coach you. Am I on the show?
David's on the show. I'll be on the show. We're going to have 2 more coaches. Jesse will be doing the commentary, I believe, for the events.
Yes.
We got actually Enum Sam Copeland. He is likely going to be hosting the show, so he'll be involved if you guys are fans of Sam. And yeah, we're going to get 2 more coaches. It's going to be a lot of fun. So stay tuned for that.
One thing I'll say, because like predictably everybody's asking about joining. One thing I'll say is that like we're going to do multiple seasons of this. So we're keeping the first season pretty short. We're going to do multiple seasons, and like different seasons are going to be different rating classes. Does that make sense? So like we'll have like the first season is class A. All of the students will be between 1,800 and 2,000 feet A, or some comparable national rating range or something like that, right? And then like there will be like season like E, where everybody's between 1,000 and 1,200, and et cetera. And we'll sort of bounce around. So depending on when your rating comes up, you may have like a season that's good for you.
So if you are in that range, 1,800 to 2,000, and you think you want to be part of the show, like Noto is saying, send me a message on Discord. There's no guarantee you'll get on because there's only 8 spots, but you know, not everyone is going to accept. So if you're interested, message me and you might get in. So this is your chance.
So guys, let's flesh it out a little bit. Like what would the coaching involve?
Well, the way it will start with everything is going to be rapid. So the whole competition is going to be rapid events with the exception of one blitz tournament. Mm-hmm. And every week the coach can work. Every coach is going to have 2 students. There's going to be 4 coaches, 8 students. They can work with them together or individually. And well, I don't want to give away what I'm going to be doing exactly, but you can work on your play, you can work on your tactics. We're not setting any limits on how much the student can work with the coach. That's just going to be totally up to them. Each team can figure it out. And yeah, for the most part, we're using OTB ratings, but this will basically be a rapid event. It'll be interesting to see how much these players can actually improve over the course of 6 weeks. It's going to be about a 6-week season.
When I originally conceived of this idea, Mitch, like a decade ago, it was for classical chess, and the idea was that after like 3 to 6 months of training, the players would go to the World Open, and they'd all be in the same section, right? Because they're all either A players or C players or whatever, right? And they'd all be in the same section of the World Open, and basically the order in which they finished in the World Open would be sort of like the final challenge standings. Now with OTB chess on hold and us doing this, finally implementing this idea, and it being online, it makes sense to go with rapid chess for the moment, I think. Also for making like, you know, a really palatable streaming show where we can sort of contain all the excitement of the final event in like, you know, a couple hours online. Yeah.
So that's going to be fun. That's starting September 26th. We'll have more announcements on that coming up, but yeah, you guys can look forward to that. Let's see. Also, the training sessions will be streamed. That's going to be a big part of it.
Yeah.
Draft order and everything.
That's a rule. You can teach as much as you want, but it's got to be online. The other coaches can't watch your sessions, but everybody else can. So you guys will be able to watch all of the sessions. Any fans following the show.
That's right. Yeah, I'm very excited for that. Okay, let's see. Next up, there's gonna be a new Norm Hunter. Starting up next week. We're gonna be doing the final show with Todd this Monday, and then there will be a next season starting the Monday after that. I'm not going to give away who it is just yet, but I will say that it's a very, very strong player and is a grandmaster. So that's right.
It's not really a Norm Hunter.
Wait a minute. There's a lot going on there. Let me interview you about this. Yeah. So what's happening with Todd? Do you guys have irreconcilable differences about the King's Gambit?
No. I think actually we will keep working together, but we've done 20 episodes with Todd. Originally I was thinking maybe 12 to 15 would be good for the season. Basically what we're going to do is we're going to develop a final training plan with Todd, send him off, and then check in with him in a couple months, see how he's doing. So we'll have a little reunion.
All right.
But yeah, no, I am serious. The GM reached out. They like the show. They want to be on it. They have their own goals. You know, GMs might not be hunting for norms, but they do want to get better. And in fact, as Jesse talks about in Road to 2500, sometimes you struggle with motivation if you don't have something very concrete to work for.
So will you be the coach?
I will be coaching them. That's right.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Oh man. How long till I get to this show?
That will be starting September 21st, season 2.
Yeah,
Oh my goodness.
nice.
A week from tomorrow or something.
That's right. Yeah. Stay tuned. We'll announce who it is on, I guess, on Twitter. Follow us on Twitter.
Yeah, and then if Real Chess comes back, then maybe I'll be Kostya's coach, and then boom, we'll go for it from there. Yeah. I'll do a quick update. This is just a dream, but I'm almost certain this is going to happen. Candidates is coming back. I think it's November, and we
1st.
will be covering that. And then we have to figure out how we cover it. But the dojo started off with the candidates, and we had a move of the day. We had various recaps, and that was really cool. You can see that on our YouTube channel. But we will do something aggressive, I hope, just because I'm interested in watching it as a fan. So I'll try to produce some content for that for sure.
I've got an aggressive layout idea. The entire screen is purple, and in big white letters, it says "Free Raja." And then in a tiny little corner where you can't even see it, there's like a chessboard with some, with Nepomniachtchi playing or something, but you can't actually see his pieces. All you can see is "Free Raja."
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll
We're
definitely continue that the series, the game of the day and move of the day recaps.
Right.
That'll be awesome.
And Kostya, I guess the other question is we're still not official Twitch partners. We're waiting on that.
No, we are still being reviewed.
Yeah, it's been a while. Okay.
Yeah, it's been much longer than they originally promised. But we'll see. I'm sure we'll get it at some point.
Cool.
Cool.
Yeah. Tomorrow I'm doing my show's been getting kicked around. My Road to 2500. It's the gnomes on chess.com. We try to they're I don't know. I got issues with the gnomes. Anyway, I'm doing that tomorrow at 5. I'm going to be talking about calculation, but also I'm going to try to touch this genetics question without people getting really upset. And
I got genetics, Jesse.
I am not going to touch anybody's genetics, but we're going to get into some interesting questions, really about chess improvement. I'm going to try to be as clear as possible without hurting, but without getting myself hurt, basically.
Well, let's see. Well, if you guys haven't been in Discord in a while, we got a new bot as well. That's really, really cool. You can now connect your chess.com account to it, your Elite Chess account to it. It'll track your progress on a daily basis and automatically assign you a new role if you jump up. We're actually going to be switching up the belt system so that the belts just respond or correspond to classical ratings. And we'll have separate roles for blitz ratings, so we'll have a better divide of who's like a classical genius and who's more of a blitz specialist.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, make sure to hang out in Discord if you guys aren't already doing that constantly.
Nice.
And we should mention we just started our new round robins and I think the new ladder, right?
So, yeah, ladder season 2.
So to be clear, they can still sign up for both of those things, or is that closed? What is the stats?
The round robins are harder to get into. Basically, I'll have that open kind of like all the time. And then once we get enough players to start a new group, I'll set something up. But that can be pretty sporadic. But the ladder is just open, and it's going to be open until I think end of October is this season. And that's, you can just sign up and start organizing games with players, start messaging. Or most people, they just post in the channel ladder, say, I'm this belt and I'm looking for a game and when you can play and so on.
Right. Cool. Well, join us in a little bit, and we're going to be doing Sunday Night Fights.
Yeah, thanks, guys. This was great. We'll be wrapping up the show. We'll be back with Sunday Night Fights. Jesse and I are going to take a couple minutes break and yeah, I'll be following some classical chess. And then David, you are streaming tonight actually after Sunday Night Fights, right?
Yeah,
Nice.
I'll be streaming 7:30 to 8:30 Pacific, approximately. We'll see. Maybe I'll keep going. Depends what's going on at home. But yeah, I'll do a post-mortem show. So anybody who's playing in Sunday Night Fights, you're welcome to come bring your game, and we'll look at it in depth. My favorite part of all of chess culture, the post-mortem.
Oh, nice. All right, guys. We'll catch you all soon.
All right. Bye bye.